Hello, welcome to the Xpress-pay Knowledge Center. My name is Melissa Rogozinski, and I'm the Education and Training Expert at Systems East. I'm also the host of our video and podcast series. Today, our guest is Peter Rogati, Director of Operations and Security. We're here today to discuss the e-payment roadmap. Hi, Peter. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Melissa. How are you today?
Doing fantastic. Peter, this was a topic that was kind of personal interest to me, and I want to tell the audience a little bit about the background. Before I became an employee, I was also a consumer, and I am actually very interested in what happens from the time I enter my card information to pay for something and the time that it either shows up on my bank account or my credit card statement only minutes later. So, Peter, paying for a product or service with any form of e-payment seems pretty quick, but the process is actually quite technical. Can you talk to our audience a little bit about who's involved and why?
Absolutely. This is something that I deal with every day. There are a number of players and people, companies, software that touch a cardholder data along the process. The first, obviously, is the consumer or the payer entering in their card information on a website. There are payment gateways, the actual merchant that is receiving the payment. There's their bank, the payer's bank. There are third-party software, as well as other utilities and tools along, depending on what is happening with that payment, what the consumer is actually purchasing or paying for.
So when we enter our card information to pay for something, we click a button and it just seems done. What actually happens after we click that button to initiate payment?
So once the button is clicked, the software running on the website encrypts the data and all important information necessary to make the transaction and sends that in a secure link to a third-party software or payment gateway. You may recall in a previous article and interview, we went into detail on what encryption really is. With Xpress-pay, we also offer the ability to store your credit card information for future payments or recurring payments. At that point, if that's a selection of the payer has selected, we encrypt the data into the database with another layer of security and encryption.
Great. So what happens if a transaction fails?
If a transaction fails, the third-party software or payment gateway responds back to the website that a failure has occurred. With Xpress-pay, we strip out the card information that has been entered already for security reasons and make the consumer re-enter information correcting whatever may have caused the failure, or if they want to use a different payment method.
Okay. So what happens when a payment transaction is actually successful?
So there are, just as there's many players involved, there are many steps. And I'll go through that a little bit in detail, but it's not necessarily in this order depending on the software and the gateway you're working with. When the consumer receives back a message that the payment is successful, usually it's from the standpoint of a receipt or a confirmation page confirming that payment has indeed been successful. What's happening on the back end is the bank has authorized the transaction from the payment gateway and responded back to the payment gateway with a confirmation ID number or something of that nature. They also will put the funds on hold or pending from the consumer standpoint, and the gateway will show that there is a pending or yet to be settled transaction. The consumer goes on their merry way, either to complete the process or set up a recurring payment or whatever is involved from the software standpoint. And that evening, the payment gateway settles out all unsettled transactions from that day. At that point, the bank is authorized to move the money from the business, or from the consumer rather, to the business through many different steps along that way.
Okay. So, Peter, in this interview, we've discussed the e-payment roadmap. We've discussed what actually happens from the time that we enter our card information to the time it shows up either in our bank account or our credit card statement, that there's actually multiple steps and multiple layers of encryption and security involved. We've also discussed what happens if a transaction fails or what happens when a transaction is successful. Is there anything else that you would like to offer our audience about how payments are processed?
Absolutely. As a consumer and payer myself, I always knew that I needed to check for the little lock in the upper left corner of the address bar when I was paying somebody and sending my credit card information. But through working here at Systems East and on Xpress-pay, I've come to know that there's way more involved in making sure that a company is actually securely handling my card information. And one of those things is to check to make sure that they are what's called PCI DSS certified and verified. The PCI DSS is the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards, and they are over 12 categories with over 400 different standards that a company must maintain and verify that they are maintaining to ensure that they are properly and securely handling payer data card information.
Well, folks, that wraps up our time today. Once again, I want to thank Peter Rogati for joining us and talking to us about the e-payment roadmap. If you have any questions, feedback, or would like to be a guest on our show, please use the information following this interview to contact me via phone number or email. Once again, thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at the Xpress-pay Knowledge Center.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Or if you have an idea you think we should discuss, leave it in a comment below.